This episode is brought to you by Espolón Tequila. Slow, sticky, snoozy. They call these the dog days of summer. But Espolón? They don't do boring. Welcome to the Marg Days. Espolón Tequila. 100% blue Weber agave, born to shake up your summer. Just add lime, agave, and a little attitude. Visit espolontequila.com. Espolón Tequila, 40% alcohol, volume 80 proof. Copyright 2025 Campari America, New York, New York. Drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. Podcasts follow us everywhere. Whether you're cooking in the kitchen, chilling in the living room, or pretending to fold laundry in the bedroom. And with Wayfair, every one of those rooms can tell a story of its own. Their curated collections of furniture styles and prices make Wayfair the trusted destination to turn your home into your happy place. Shop everything home at wayfair.com with free and easy delivery straight to your door.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
If you can be 60% efficient through a game on defense, you got a chance. 55%, like your offense needs this, like it's going to be a close game, potentially, unless you give up explosive. If you're 50% efficient on defense throughout that whole game, your offense needs to score 42 points for you to win, all right? If you're over 60, you're probably shutting people out. So that 10%, where can we get it? I may not love that call, but if that call is 70% efficient, I need to call it more.
Student of the game comes from the mindset that decrees we will be genuinely curious, constantly evolving, obsessed with the process of learning and growing. I've often operated with the mindset that the game of football is constantly evolving, and we will either grow with it or become extinct. It is our expectation that we separate from those we have passed and to catch those that are still operating above us. This podcast offers a source for those that believe in constant evolution of their knowledge, individual craft, and overall intrigue in the game of football. Each of you can find one tool that can help improve your off-season process as you continuously become students of the game.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
Coaches, welcome into the season finale of the Student of the Game podcast, brought to you by the Coach and Coordinator Network. Got to start, as always, thanking Keith Grabowski for the opportunity. We're going to finish off of this season with someone that I got to coach against multiple times and through the years have grown close with. Somebody I think is a really, really good football coach. And the more that our relationship transitioned from opponents to just guys in the field, the more respect and admiration I've gained for how he's gone about his business. That coach is none other than Ottawa University's head football coach, Nick Davis. Nick, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always fun. Again, I know we were talking off air, man. We were arch enemies that we actually got together and we're like, man, we're pretty much alike.
Yeah, that's what I always like to start with is, okay, why do you bring certain guests on? I think you've done a great job, as we were talking about, through, some would call it the marketing, but just you were a student of the game before any of these, the idea for this podcast came together. But we spent formidable years for both of us, myself at Mount St. Joseph, you were at Rose-Hulman. I was the offensive coordinator, you're the defensive coordinator. So we had some crazy good battles, and not just because you're on the podcast, but you can look up the win-loss totals. You were the first guy in, as I got into the profession of collegiate coaching, that really made me work on my craft to a level that was beyond what I would say is normal. And I think you taught me to be a student of the game because we were taking there were some beatdowns that were pretty lopsided, but they're always usually important games. So we knew that if we were ever going to get over the hump, if you will, at Mount St. Joseph, that we had to overcome you. And I thought you guys, Rose-Hulman, you and Jeff and the whole crew, that was the barometer that was set in the HCAC, which is a testament to you guys. And like you said, I had this picture painted in my head for the first 4 years of, man, this is this evil villain who we don't have anything in common. And I think we played the spring season game and you beat us and it was a good football game. But I just remember, I'm going to shoot that guy a text and say, that was a nice job. And I think from then, we literally, before you took off for Kansas City. We got together and had lunch, and we have communicated regularly since then. So all of that to be said, I have a ton of respect for you. I think this episode is going to be great. You are the student of the game before this podcast ever came out, and I think we're going to be able to paint that picture for everybody that's listening.
Awesome, man. Lots of respect. So let's get rolling.
Let's do it. All right, let's take us through. I think you got a unique background, kind of painted some of it there, but walk us through your coaching career, the years that you were there, the amount of time that you spent, and kind of just paint us to where you're at now.
Yeah, I think interesting path. Played Division III football in Monmouth College, went to Ottawa University, defensive coordinator. As a GA, I thought, man, I'm going to coach D-line. He's like, nope, you're coaching the secondary with me. So I did that for a year. The second year, I'm like, okay, pretty excited. Like, hey, can I get the corners safety? He's like, nope, you're coaching linebackers. 2 years on the job, like I always wanted to be this D-line coach. I thought I was this D-line savant and all this stuff, and never coached D-line. Had an opportunity to actually interview for a D-line job at Rose-Hulman, and it was me and a guy at Ottawa. He was played at Clemson, 4-star recruit, set the whatever powerlifting record at Clemson as a freshman or something, like this small college guy and this other dude. And we were the final two candidates. The running backs coach like quit on them like the day that they were going to decide. And they said, hey, we like both of you. Would you come coach running backs for us? I was like, I'll get back to you. I looked up. Kyle Kovach was a All-American coming back at running back. I don't think I can screw this up. So went there to coach running backs in 2012 and 2013. And Jeff Sokol made me the special teams coordinator while I was there. And then our D coordinator left after the 2014 year. And he just kind of came down. I was a laundry guy. Like I went from making $5,000 as a GA to $12,000 to being the special teams coordinator, making $3,000 to becoming the laundry guy. I was making $24,000. Like kept quadrupling, doubling my salary, like still not making very much money. So for you young coaches, man, you better love the game. And then just learning everything, like knew nothing about offense, learned everything. When you're a running backs coach at the Division III level, there's not many running back full-time jobs. So that special teams coordinator was a big thing for me. It was learning wide receiver play. It was learning offensive line play. So when we met and we installed and we did all that stuff, I took that stuff serious because I'm applying for O-line jobs. Well, it's hard to get an O-line job if you're a running backs coach. I'm applying for wide receivers jobs. It's hard to get a wide receivers job if you're a running backs coach. Like there's not many full-time running backs coaches in Division III. So, well, I'm applying for defensive jobs. Well, why is this guy coaching offense if he wants to coach defense? I was in a weird little spot, and our D coordinator left after 2014. Coach Sokol came down, thought I did a good enough job as a coordinator at special teams and said, what would you do on defense? And we were coming off of a year where we weren't very good. We were a 4-2-5 operation. And I'm like, we have some really talented freshman linebackers. Like, I'd like to get as many of those guys out on the field. So he liked what I said. And I went from being the laundry guy and special teams coordinator, coaching running backs, to the defensive coordinator. So I was there being the D coordinator, did the linebackers. I did DBs. Like COVID came around. That was the first time I coached the D line in my career. So 2020. So I thought in 2010 that I was going to be this D-line coach. 10 years later, I was actually able to coach the D-line. And then I learned, like, as a coordinator, you probably don't need to be coaching the D-line, all right? So kind of gone wherever I've needed, coached really everything on offense other than quarterbacks, coached every position on defense, and then had the opportunity to come back to Ottawa. Coach Kessinger, needed a defensive coordinator. I knew he was going to retire at some point. And I knew, okay, well, here's a job interview. He didn't tell me he was going to retire at the end of the first season I was there, but went back to Ottawa. He retired, got named our head football coach. Always a big guy of do what the team needs best. For the first 3 years, I coached offense after being a defensive coordinator at Ottawa my first year. So I've gone, and I'm a humble dude, but we've gone from being a team that's been second in the country in sacks and first in the country in TFLs to my first year as an offensive line coach, we were 12th in the country in rushing, to last year, we only gave up 3 sacks. So like, it truly is like this program, student of the game. Like, I couldn't have done all that if I wouldn't have studied. Like, I had a basic idea of offensive line play, but the number of Lawrence first and goal, a number of cool clinics I watched to figure out, like, okay, and sometimes these O-line guys make it way more complicated than it needs to be. All right. But hey, a defensive guy can come over and coach another side of the ball if he's willing to do it and he's open to do it. So back to the point where it was best for my program to come back to be the defensive coordinator and call the defense. So had an interesting path and coach on both sides of the ball. And really, like, I sit down with my offensive coordinator and we talk, and he's like, yeah, I didn't even think of like that. So I did have a young Clarence Anderson, a young offense coordinator. So it was good to be a head coach, coaching the offensive line with a first-time offensive coordinator too, to kind of help him.
Yeah. And as you're going through that, like the things that the older I get, the more I can reflect back on it without the immediate pressure of having to face you is, I mean, I feel like every off season, I mean, I remember one time standing on my back deck and you just called and you said, all right, talk me through these 4 concepts. How do you coach them? Why do you do that a certain way? And I was just like, and I just immediately thought, oh, he's trying to get it from a defensive angle. At the end of the conversation, like, I'm going to be on the offense. I just want to hear how different people do things. And like you said, the amount of clinics that you listen to on top of the ones that you provided throughout your time at Rose-Hulman, like that's what strikes me. I think I look at you as almost like an encyclopedia of like football information because of how much you download. And to me, it shines through in the product that I got to see, where I thought, to me, what makes a defense very challenging are the ones that understand the offense and are purposely trying to break rules. And it's over and over. And I would always say, like, you created immense amount of chaos, usually at all 3 levels. And the more I played you, it happened even more and more in the back end. But just the amount of things that you could do with your front 7 and the way that you were able to teach it was always just mesmerizing to me. So in that vein, you kind of mentioned it, but like in this, like give the listeners your mentality throughout this process of that knowledge acquisition. How do you, when you go into an off season, even as accomplished as you are now, how does your mind flip to going, okay, this is how I'm going to acquire the knowledge necessary to take this next step in your profession?
I think it's always evaluating the film. Like, what did we do well? What did we not do well? What are the trends? How can I take Alabama's 700-page playbook and make it 30 pages, right? How can I take all the best things that they're doing at the highest levels and make it simple? And I think that's the big thing. I think that's a little easier at Rose-Hulman, a bunch of 32 ACT kids, but they also weren't the greatest athletes. There was good athletes. All right. There was a year, I think you threw 600 yards on us. We didn't have a corner. So boom, deep ball. All right. But years that we had kids that could run 4.8 and play corner, they were well coached, I think. Like, I don't think there was a lot of games we went in that if you were to do a 100-meter race, that the Rose-Hulman kids were going to win that. Now, Ottawa, we have a little bit more athletic kids, but they're not 32 ACT guys. So I've done it at one of the smartest schools in the country. All right. And I've done it just at a normal school, right? Like, I'm not saying Ottawa kids are, I got engineers at Ottawa. We have kids that are 32 ACTs, but I also have 13, 14, 15, 16 ACT kids that just want to play ball, right? So being able to figure out what your team is, what they can handle, but yeah, just going in and being like, okay, here's this concept. Does it work for me? Like, I got to Rose-Hulman, and the first thing I did when I became defensive coordinator was I need to beat Franklin College. I need to beat Mount St. Joe. All right. Hanover wasn't the Hanover that was at the end of you and my career. So I was like, what do I do to beat Mount St. Joe and Franklin? Well, they were both similar offensively in an air raid style. All right. Before you had got there, I think you were coaching quarterbacks. Franklin was air raid. Everybody's playing zone quarters. Well, if I play zone quarters, I know what the outcomes are going to be. So let's be different. Everybody was 4-2-5 or 4-3. So we got into 3-3-5 personnel. And I thought, well, shoot, I want to make an offensive coordinator's life as miserable as possible. All right. Because Caleb's got probably 14 runs. But against me, he's only going to use 3 of them because he doesn't have enough time to practice bear, 3 down, 4 down, 4 eyes, 5s, double 3s, double A. Like, I'm doing all this stuff, and then there's no rhyme or reason. It's just like, yep, I want to do that here. Like, they probably didn't practice that. And then be able to play multiple coverages, because if you're not better than everybody, you can't just line up and do the same thing. So that was kind of my mindset on things, and kind of what we did when I coached offense here too.
I love that. To me, that's just like, that might be, I mean, we're going to have much more content, but that's like the nugget of this podcast. And for me, hearing you say that, and for young guys or guys that are out there trying to trailblaze, I mean, literally in the league, our game plans, they were all different defenses. Yeah, but it's like they matched each other. And then there was one outlier every year. And I don't think I understood that until you kicked our teeth in. One time was a 5 or 6 pick interception game. The first year I was calling it down there. And then the next time we came down, we had the success the year before. And now you're press bail on the corners, still creating chaos up front. We can't just take the throw over the top, and you kicked our teeth in again. And that's when I just realized that the importance of and the value in being different, like you said. And I think that's something that I do as well, where it's, you can run similar things, but once you get in a league and how we were in there long enough, the trends just they start multiplying and cross multiplying within itself. And now everybody's matching the same thing, and I think that can become stale pretty quickly. But something else you said that I think is interesting, I think you did a really good job of, is taking really complex ideas and simplifying. How do I make them work for our guys? And everybody says that they do that, but I see two ends of the spectrum, either oversimplification, where again, now you look like everybody else, or this massive amount of, I think I overcorrected in 2019 to try to solve all these problems, and now I don't have an identity. So just talk a little bit about like the creation of that, how you took those complex ideas from a teaching standpoint and boiled them down because like you said, your kids were smart, but man, you guys did a lot. And it was so well scripted. It was very artistic in how you did it, but you were able to run so many different actions.
Yeah, I think like, just for example, on a coverage, like I listened to in 2015, Brandon Staley, when he was with John Carroll, Ripley's match, right? Like, and he was from the Saban tree and it came up in that tree and learned it all. Like, all that stuff's great, but you're an offensive coach. You're listening to that stuff too. So you know my rules if I'm doing exactly what they're doing. And you know that you can create a 4-strong load, send guys vertical, get the back out, and we can't cover that stuff. So some of it's like, okay, here's a nice concept. What is best for what we are seeing? All right. So, and I've gone back and forth like, hey, I like to play like you go and you probably 2x2 formation, drop back pass against Rose Holman. There's years that I played cover one that we had 2 hash players like Ripley's match, but we weren't matching it with our DBs. There's years we played Ripley's match. There's years that we hugged the back and played the hole. There's years we tried to do all 3 of those. Like, it's just little things here and there. Figuring out like, yeah, the quarterback gets scrambled when we had 2 hash droppers. All right. Can we give undercalls? Can we not give undercalls? Are they going to run fast threes? So I think it's figuring out every year. Like, I even went back to an old time cut up and I'm like, okay, well, this was kind of, we called this Ohio, but this was what we call Kansas now. So I was going back with my GAs and I'm trying to show them good clips. I'm like, yep, this is Ohio, this is Kansas, oh, that's Kentucky, like our different coverages and stuff. So it's what made it best for our kids. Like, we'll play cover 3, but if you mesh with the quarterback, it turns into like zone drop cover 3. Like, we were going to, if it's drop back pass, we were all going to spot drop, all right, off of people, all right? But if you mesh, it turns into match defense. So like, you're sitting there being like, it's like you knew everything we were doing. Well, shoot, you meshed RPO, we played man. Drop back pass, like, and the rain was like 25 miles per hour, we played cover 3. Like, there's some things that, and some people are like, man, that's really hard to do. Like, you got to coach it. People teach their corners and man coverage to read the quarterback for quick game. So why can't you in zone teach your players that if there's a mesh to just match people with zone integrity and be on top of it? So there's some things that I'll like buck the trend on that people have never done. And I'm just like, no, why can't we do it this way? I got 7 different versions of 1 high coverages for 1 game a year that I might need to use them.
I mean, that's hilarious. I'm laughing because it's like, that's literally my mentality. And just hearing it in this, it's what I do. And I love what you said. Like, I think we have done a great job of evolving these post-snap decision routes by our receivers. And the first thing I always get is probably the same thing when you had all these patterns and all this stuff is like, how do you coach it? You're like, how do you teach your kids to do that? And what you said is what I tell people. You got to coach it. Like, that's our job, right? You got to, like you said, boil down the material, understand it inside and out. I think that's critical. You showed the mastery of that. And the more that we've gotten into this system, it's like, okay, I feel like I'm getting closer to a mastery of it. Now, how do we teach it? And then the layer that you keep mentioning, teach it to the humans that we have right now. That's all that matters. And in that, I think another great nugget for young coaches is natural evolution will occur, because you are making subtle adjustments on all of the information you just said. And it's not some grand sweeping change, but they're subtle enough to give you different appearances. And you may be doing it for a personnel reason, but to the opposing team, they're like, what the heck is this? Like, looks like it's man, but it's not, and vice versa. So it's funny that I'm like you. There are only so many rules. Like on offense, I tell our kids, we got to have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage and we can't be moving forward with the motion. Other than that, there are no rules. We can make our own rules. So I really like that. Now, going back to the defense, like, it excites me. I hope for both of our sakes that we go to the playoffs, but I hope that with you going back to defense, that I don't have to see you in the playoffs. But give me, and just as some of my intrigue, give us a defensive philosophy, and it doesn't even have to be scheme specific, but I'd always love to just kind of get in your brain, like, when you think this is the core of Nick Davis and what we're doing now at Ottawa and how you operate at Rose-Hulman, the outline of your defensive philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I want to be multiple. Like and I think the best way to be multiple in the modern game is 3-3-5 personnel and having that third linebacker be able to play an edge, and that guy's got to be able to drop. Because if you know I'm in 4-down personnel before the snap is, like, that can be easy. There's only so many things you can do in a 4-man front. But I was just looking at right now, like, we got 40 different fronts. But to me, like, yeah, we really only do 7 things, but they're all over different places. We're putting guys in different spots, like the way we teach it. Like, our 4-down stuff marries our 6-down front. Like, our defense, for an example, with Shark is a 4-down front where our 3 technique is away from the string and our A-gap player is to the string. Well, Strawberry is a fruit, and it's the same thing. We just walk our linebackers down. So we got 47 different versions of all that stuff, but it's teaching. So I want to be multiple. So I get into a game where I can't play 4-down fronts because I'm getting destroyed, that I can go to our 3-down. I'm a big middle field close guy, but we've also played middle field open and being able to play Tampa, guys like you getting reduced, well, shoot, let's play Tampa too if they're going to get double reduced and do some things like that. Got into more of the bracket world, like when Dante Barti was here as our D coordinator, and we were doing bracket, doing some of the stuff. I just now know how the SEC teams play bracket and all those coverages and stuff, which I was really onto it. Had someone at a high level come in and show me for a year, and oh yeah, that's pretty cool. We can do that exact same thing, and we'll do that. So I think I want to move too. I just don't want to sit there and be in the same front. Now it's different. If I was at Mount Union as the defensive coordinator, I may sit, or North Central now, I may sit in a base defense if I have the best players. I've never had the best players. So, and I want to be multiple, and hopefully we can beat the quarterback on the field, not the coordinator, right? Because the coordinators are really good. But if the coordinator's got to be 33% cover 1, 33% cover 3, 33% 3 down, 30% 4 down, he's just guessing at that point, right? 100%. Unless you're a check with me operation.
Right. And that's something our head coach, is DC, John Perrin, said is he's like, I'm not trying to beat you. I'm beating that quarterback. And I'm like, God, that's good. That's a great quote. I had not heard that directly. And I'm like, then it makes sense. But yeah, I think the multiplicity piece, I think it's the same thing that I think is, I don't like sitting in what you were saying in base operations. I don't want to play in base splits. I don't want to play in base. I want to run the same things everyone else does, but I want to do it from a different launch point. Because what I always say, and it's probably the same thing on the inverse, a base defense, they're going to set their cones out there and they're going to match the traditional route patterns that everybody has become accustomed to. And they're good route patterns. There's nothing wrong with them. But it's we have to find a way to make them to defend us, right? And truly remain on offense. It's the same thing you're doing on defense. And multiplicity to me is one of them. But the other thing I heard you, the way you said it to me, it's buckets, right? Same as teaching. Okay, you got all these, because that's what I showed somebody, I was teaching them, I'm a less plays, more ways guy. And I showed my install and they're like, dude, you're a liar. You have way too much stuff. And I'm like, okay, well then let's go through this. This is the same as this, and this is the same as this. But like you said, it might be a different person. It might be a different set. It might be a slight variation in the route, but it's the same thing. It's the same bucket. The teaching doesn't change. Where the route ends up changes slightly, right? So it's buckets, which I think is certainly the way to put pressure. And you would do that literally, but you're always putting the pressure on an offense with just that mentality, which, like I said, I've seen firsthand. All right. So another thing that's always intriguing to me is, and obviously we're butting up against camp. So you've done this process and it's led you to but when you are coming out of spring, and maybe it's when you come out of training camp and you're evaluating your concepts, what does that process look like? And then what type of, especially coming out of training camp and now you're up against a game week, what does that process look like for you in that evaluation of by concept?
Yeah, like what you said with buckets, yeah, we'll go to our bucket, like our NFL family blitzes, ring them all up. And was it, hey, when our Mike rushes inside, was that efficient? Was it our will inside? Was it our Mike outside, our will outside? That whole family, we have the same stunt. All right. So we may have called the Mike, the will, inside, outside version 37 times. Well, is the will version better than the Mike because the will's a better player? All right. Or is the will version of the Mike of how we set the front and we blitzed against the worst guy? Figuring out those concepts of that. And then going back, we've struggled on Like Mexico is our middle pick stunt, all right, where we're picking the center. We weren't great last year, when I wasn't the coordinator at it. This spring, we weren't great. So we went back and we found 75 clips of Rose Holman doing the Mexico or my first year here. And I'm watching it with the D-line coach. Like, this is what we need. And what we found was there was a loss in translation of like, oh, I thought we need to do something else. So evaluating the bucket. Is the bucket good? Do we need to change the bucket? The wording's in the bucket. Do we need to change the players doing the movements in the bucket, right? Like, it's figuring that out. It's more like, I'm a huge efficiency guy, right? Like, if you can be 60% efficient through a game on defense, you got a chance. 55%, like, your offense needs a, it's going to be a close game, potentially, unless you give up explosive. If you're 50% efficient on defense throughout that whole game, your offense needs to score 42 points for you to win. All right. If you're over 60, you're probably shutting people out. So that 10%, where can we get it? I may not love that call, but if that call is 70% efficient, I need to call it more. I did a 6-down mug clinic. And when we did our 6-down stuff, it was offenses were 27% efficient. I did 118 times in 7 years, which is a lot to do 6-down fronts, but I probably could have done it more. But I was scared, like, you're scared. I was 6 down. I give up an explosive play. But that was the best thing we did at Rose Holman over my time. And I needed to find ways to do it more. He was like, hey, did you do this? I was like, 55 of these clips are on 3rd, 1, 2, and 3. So they're not just 3rd and long. Like, I needed to figure out ways to get to our most successful stuff early. Hey, we are evaluating our Mexico stunt. Quarterback throws an incomplete pass, but we don't run the stunt right. Like, that's still efficient. So it's trying to weed through some of the efficiency, watching it, but everything goes in a bucket. We watch the movement bucket of every concept, then we go back, and then we watch the coverage bucket concept through everyone. And our D-line coach probably wants to beat his head against the wall when we get in the coverage time. But like, that's the only way to see. And then we try to bang stuff that we don't need to do for the fall.
This podcast is revealing a lot of the similarity. I'm an efficiency guy too. We do the same thing on the inverse, have an adjusted efficiency that tries to build in what you're saying, the understanding of, is this a concept error? Is this a personnel error? Is this a technique error, right? And you got to know when and where, and all that information is useful in different ways, because we'll do an adjusted efficiency on our concepts. And if the actualized efficiency is, if there's a big gap between adjusted, basically means there's some type of technical error happening. And it shows that there's a lot of meat on that bone, but we got to coach it better. We're not teaching it correctly. We're not coaching. We're not drilling it. We've got to find what's the skill. How do we teach it better? How do we make it make sense to get that? Because if you don't get that percent that's separate of each other, okay, it's still inefficient concept, right? So I think that's exactly the way that we do that. And I think it's really interesting. Something else I've always been curious on, installation process. So when you're looking at the defense, how many days is it? How do you perceive an installation, especially coming up to training camp?
Yeah, I mean, my staff probably thinks I'm a psycho. We had an 8-install summer plan. There's 8 weeks in the summer. We met on Zoom each week with all of our returners and our freshmen that can make it on Tuesday night. We recorded it so the kids can view it. I wanted to pare that down to 4. Had it pared down to 4. I went through. I have all brand new graduate assistants. 2 of them played offensive line in college. And so 3 of my GAs are brand new coaches. 2 played offense, 1 played defensive back. And I have a special teams coordinator who coaches our D-line, who's an NFL tight end, played tight end, coached tight end his whole career. So really, and he coached D-line for us last year, but everybody's new. So I went through the 4 installs with them. I didn't feel great with just going 4. So now we have 6, but still, like, that's 40 fronts and 6 installs. Like, I mean, I even have over the years, like, we probably had 80 different movements at Rose Holman. I've pared it down only like 40 different things, like from a blitz pattern. And then we probably only have, stunts. Yeah, it's about, 25 stunts. Figuring out, like, I'm excessive of like, okay, how does this fit? Right? Because we're like an a la carte. Most defenses that I have, like, I go to Kansas practice and it's whatever, base, jet, 4. And now they have 45 different adjustments. All right. Sorry, Coach Leopold. All right, for calling you out. I don't think that's really the call. So Iowa State, don't get mad. But they got 45 adjustments, all the different stuff. Like, we're all a cart. Like, I pick a front, I pick a movement and a coverage, and some of them all have to go together. But I can run a different blitz bucket out of any one of my fronts if it worked. Right. But I would say, like, a basic blitz for us will work out of 75% of our fronts with the rules that we have built in. So, like, we're an a la carte. So as I'm picking the fronts, the movements, and the coverage, I need to make sure that those all fit together for that day and that stuff. So we pared it down to 6. I think there's 19 different concept families in install 1. With that being said, just to give the listeners, one of the things that's a concept is really 4 different fronts, but it's the same concept. Another concept is 2 different fronts. Another concept's 3 different fronts. Like we got really 1 blitz going in, but there's like 9 different names of that blitz. And then 3 pass stunts, 4 different versions of coverages. So like it's 19 things, but these are 19 things that we've talked about all summer long. And then they build on things. Like, hey, if my tackle has to slant, my defensive tackle slants to the tackle's hip. Well, that's the same thing we do when we run Mexico. They just slant to the center's hip. If I get the center's back, I pick and get vertical. If I get the center's face, I button loop. But it's building concepts. Like all of our coaches were freaking out and said, hey, D-line, go in and write down everything in the playbook that's a technique. And he did. And we got 75 things he probably could do, but there's 13 techniques. If those kids know those 13 techniques, we have to coach them on why we name stuff. And I'm a huge believer on don't call it what Nick Saban called it because that's what Nick Saban called it, right? Like we call Ohio our outside leverage man and we have help. Oregon has an N, there's no help. Ohio has an H, you have help. Like make it make sense, have a rhyme or reason for it, all right? And then be convicted when you teach it to the kids. And they'll learn it and have a story. We used to do a blitz. It was called Asteroids, all right? And it was a gap blitz with both linebackers. And we ran a inside penetrator, outside looper stunt, which we called Italy at the time. I would tell the kids that there's always lots of asteroids in Italy. There's not. I don't know. I didn't do the research, but the kids remembered that. Like, yeah, hey, boom, it's asteroids. Hey, there's Italy's and asteroids in Italy. Like lots of Coach Davis told me about it. Like I've created a story and they remembered that story. Like one day to their kids, they're going to visit Italy and they're going to be like, man, I think there might be a bunch of asteroids tonight or something. Like,
I love it. That's incredible. But to your conviction piece, I talked about this with somebody. To me, conviction, and you've been there now, but you're re-implementing probably with almost a new set of kids of your call on the defense. So like your energy, passion, vision for that operation is going to shine through every day. And like you said, that's going to bleed over. You know, I'm in a new spot. I didn't realize because I hadn't taught this system somewhere else how important that was. I love to get my hands on when I can watch Sean McVay teach, and every time he's excited. Like he's just fired up. Whatever he's talking about is the best concept. He'll watch the Packers run. That's just a good football. It's John Gruden, right? And to me, I think that can't be understated of how important it is, because obviously you believe in your material, right? But just like watching you on the visual here is like, I can see your body language is like, this is what we do. We're going to do it at a high level. We're going to teach it at a high level, and we're going to find a way to make it impactful. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, I think you and I have always taught and presented with conviction, but just being in a new spot was like, man, that's like almost all of it. You got to be clean in your teaching, like you said, but you know, I can feel it coming through the lens.
Kids got to believe.
They got to.
I get in trouble on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. because my daughter's room is right above here, my 5-month-old daughter. And my wife says, hey, you got to quiet. I get text message, quiet down in that football voice. But we got to get a little bit more insulate down here in the man cave so Aubrey doesn't wake up in the middle of the night.
That's right. You believe in the product as you should.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Buying a car shouldn't eat up your week. That's why Carvana made it convenient. Car buying that fits around your life, not the other way around. You can get pre-qualified for an auto loan in just a couple of minutes and browse thousands of quality car options, all within your terms, all online, all on your schedule. Turn car buying into a few clicks and not a full week's endeavor. Finance and buy your car at your convenience on
Carvana.
Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
All right. So now that, okay, that's your install. I'm oddly enough very similar in 8 deal install. And I think some of these guys probably think I'm nuts too with how it's broken up. But teaching methodology, we talked about buckets, the way that the install is going to come at them. What other tools are you using? I love the word association. I think that the clinics I've seen, you've always been really good at that. What other things do you think are really important, whether it's you presenting or now that you got these new coaches, in ways and methodology that we're teaching the kids?
Yeah. So like when we did install with the coaches, we took, and every defensive coach in the country is a trash can guy, right? We use trash can lids. All right. We had moved so much, and I've taken my trash can lid and we put rope on it. So people have the snakes with the O-line. Like, I got a trash can lid, all right, because the trash can's a little bit bigger than what those spots on those snakes are. But like, we want to slant to different gaps. Like, you do trash cans, you knock the trash can down every time, right? Like, so we have trash can lids, and it's easier. Try to unstack 14 trash cans, right, to get it out. My GAs have the trash can lids on a rope that is perfectly spaced out with an offensive line split, all right, unless we're playing somebody with a tight split, and we can move it tighter. But I took our whole coaching staff and I was like, it doesn't matter if you have a PowerPoint and you teach. Anyone can teach with a PowerPoint, all right? Now, you may not know what you're doing and you could be excited and the kids would believe it. You're going to take me out to the field, all right? It was like 105 degrees, so we actually went to our indoor volleyball facility, which is air conditioned, and we had the trash can lids. Take me through the front where I'm a player, so line me up. And I messed with them a few times, like linebacker, D-line, DB, went through, boom, 2x2, 3x1, Y's here, Y's there, install 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where in my head, I was like, I need to make this 6. They're confused between these 12 different things. And if they can't do it without the PowerPoint or a diagram as a coach, the kids, my smart linebacker would get it, right? But they need help. So let me help them, right? I'm not too humble of like, we're going to do it. Like, I looked, I'm like, yeah, that's 12 different things. I think I could do it, but I've been around this system for 10 years. Like, I have confidence in it. You've been around this system for 12 days. If you can get them lined up in a 7, all right, 2I and a 7, all right, and then this next day we'll worry about overload stuff. We'll do it the next day, all right, and we'll bump it because it's what's best for our staff, and what's best for our staff is going to be best for our players. But yeah, like, I was convicted, like 4 days, 4 days, 4 days. Our offense, I think they made their install 5. And I was like, hey guys, like, I'm going to do it 6. And they're like, oh, awesome. Like, they were excited. Like, hey, we'll do ours in 6 too now. But like, and you want to go over them. Like, hey, Coach Anderson, today we were playing cover 1. Like, you need to put in what you need to put in. You need to put your cover 1 beaters in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, I want to be stressed. You need to be stressed. Hey, this day we're playing cover 3. Put in your cover 3 beaters. Like, hey, we're going to be 4 down this day. Like, a newsflash world, we're dabbling in the flex, right? I got with Seton Hill in the off season. Like, I got 14 different flex things we might do, right? Like, hey, we're going to do the flex this day. All right. If you want pin and pull, tell me, I'll run 4 down front that day, or that call. Like, let's work together, man. You're going to run Y cross. I'll give you 7 different coverages. Like, there's no reason of just random, you pick Y cross and I play cover 1 to it. Like, that does nobody good. I can go back and watch Y cross versus cover 1, 7 years, Rose Holman film. I can do it. Let's play cover 3, play quarter. Let's do all these things. So I think working together, but that's one thing I like, hey, they need to be able to teach on the board and they need to be able to teach in a classroom. But if they can't teach it at practice without all those resources, the kids are going to lose confidence in them. So I get them out there and make them do everything.
I really like that. And that's something that I really respect here. It sounds the same thing as Coach Perrin, our DC, was really big in collaborating in the install process. And then we were feeling each other out because we'd worked with each other for like 2 months before spring practice. And basically by the end of spring practice, we had it where it's like, hey, can you give me in half line? Can you give me 4 of your middle of the field open, 4 of your middle of the field closed? We're going to run the same stuff. And it's what you said. And I love it. We call it stress. I want to stress test the concepts. I want to know where they break from an offense perspective. I'm sure he's doing the same thing from a defense perspective. And there was a collaboration. And obviously, like, you always want your defense to work, but you know you're building something bigger than just the defense with the greater role you have in the program. And that's what I respected about him is like, he's a fiery DC, but like, he's like, I know this offense has got to be right for us to do what we're going to do. And I think that takes, like you said, communication. It takes clarity. I think it takes, like you mentioned, like being humble and, okay, let's adjust some things or let's make sure that we're working against each other. Because I love it. You said you guarded white cross. I mean, I would say 1,000,000 times in the HCAC. It's been done against your cover 1, right? Let's see some variation.
But I think too, like, it's huge on just getting with your offensive coordinator and stuff and figuring out like, hey, you need this done. They had this great RPO thing. It wasn't going to work with how we line up because no matter what coverage we're playing, we're never going to give them leverage to block to RPOs, right? Like, you can do it. And if you have a better player and you got a quarterback to throw and catch, you're going to get 6 yards. That's why I played sometimes at 5 yards. So people didn't do it. Like, you could have thrown to the better player every time and got 4 yards because we couldn't have tackled him. That's why I lined my guy up at 4 yards and took away leverages and stuff. Like, that's why we did some of the things we've done. But I'm sitting there talking, I'm like, yeah, you're really excited about this and this is going to work in the season, but this is not going to be great this spring. So as you're talking to your kids, you probably should say like, hey, this is why we're doing this for the season. This is not going to be very good against Ottawa University's defense this spring.
No doubt. And that's real. I mean, that's some of the stuff that we had to work through. And I tried not to like, okay, I got to win this drill. And as bad as you want to like make that adjustment on the fly and the kids aren't ready for it, it's like, nope, let's, like you said, educate them on the concept. Let's give them an opportunity to be successful. But very similar in the RPO world, like there's things that are base parts of the system that's like, I'm not running it against that defense. Like, I'm just not going to do it. We need to practice it. So you make those slight adjustments, but it's communication, man. It's collaboration. I love that you guys do that. And you being the football mind you are, it is interesting to you. John's been great here at Georgetown. Here's something with your defense I'm curious about. When you get in, so you got this 6 day, it was 8, you wanted it 4, it's 6 day. How much experimentation will you allow, try, work through? And I don't mean like grand sweeping things, but I'm sure you do something and you have an idea right there, a subtle, hey, we're going to do this instead of that. Now we can get benefit from it. How much do you do that in like a training camp? Is there much experimentation in your brain when you're installing?
Yeah, like I would say more in the spring. I'm just looking at our install right now. Like there was things that we adjusted that we did differently in the spring and we're going to do this fall, but it's things that I've done before or we've altered how we've going to talk about it, right? Like, and we'll go back to the drawing board and be like, I've gone and taught different stunts 1,000 different ways. Like, oh man, we're back to what I did 10 years ago, right? Or that. But going into the season, everything that we did, besides maybe one coverage concept, and that coverage concept, we had the coverage already in. It's just a different way to do it. There may be 3 new things, but I don't think the kids would know.
Right.
Like they're going to be like, oh, cool. I'll give you an example. We play a 2-man coverage and we played it against you, but we also play a version where instead of the safeties playing deep halves, they vision double. Instead of playing trail man and playing deep halves, they play man and we vision double, which could look like bracket. It could look like a bad version of 2-man. All right. But on third down, I want to be able to play both of those coverages because if you have 2 dudes and you have them on both sides and I play trail man, my deep half player has got to be really good. Well, if I have vision doubles, we could play man and both those guys, if your quarterback's looking at your 2 dudes on one side, can be working over there on vision doubles. So like nice. That's a concept I've done before. We didn't do it in the spring, but we probably got rid of more things. Like our spring install would have been a little thicker than what we are. And like I had like 14 5-down stunts. We got 3 now, right? Or 4. We're not going to run 14 of them, right? But they're cool. Bill Belichick did it, right? I've done 14. I have them on film. Like if I ever need to go to a clinic or something, but we probably only need 3 for the season.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of how I would say that spring usually lends to, especially with the capacity of your brain. I'm sure that spring you're like, hey, let's try it. And if there's no result, right, you can evaluate it and either move it or save it or slash it all together. Think about, and I don't know, I've never really coached defense, like with your best Rose-Hulman teams, and maybe these guys that you got now get to that point, I don't know, but with like your best Rose-Hulman teams, how much would you, on offense, I call it split variance, where we have an ideology for different forms of splits. But if they're a yard inside that alignment or a yard outside, or they tighten the stack or widen the stack, if they have a reason for it, our kids do it on their own and they have a reason for it. And it's interesting to me, I'll kind of let some of those things go just to see what happens. When like you were at the peak with the kids at New Year's, would you allow them that kind of experimentation on their own?
Yeah, I mean, not to pick on your team. Like we played press man one time and our cornerback saw your quarterback go throw a screen to the running back and intercepted it. Like, hey, we're playing man. You should be watching your receiver, but I'm really glad that he was a former quarterback. I'm really glad that you saw the quarterback, saw that he got in a screen drop. And we were luckily, I think, able to hit the quarterback and the quarterback sailed the ball a little bit. But that was cool to have a corner pick off a running back middle screen. Like we did it, I think, another time where we were playing man and 2 ran it out and our corner was playing one on the fade and saw the quarterback throw the out and it was a pick 6. Like those things, they're good players. Let them play. But it also hurts you sometimes too. My big deal is I rip their butt when it hurts us. All right. And when they make a play, I tell them, hey, this would have hurt us. I'd be ripping your butt, but that's a great play. Some of the best plays we ever made were things the kids just did on their own. Our free safety, and I think we teach it well. And most of our post stuff is they're cheating off the quarterback. So there's times that he's not just directly in the post, he's where the quarterback's looking. And we'll talk if the quarterback's staring to the boundary for 2 seconds and now he's off of it, let's baseball turn and run.
Yeah, he's going there.
He's going there. And if he's not, I'd say it's going to be on the D line, right? If the quarterback, the quarterback started to the boundary really quick and he's off of it, he's not going back to the boundary.
Amen.
And if he is, I'm ripping the D line. So there's so much stuff. I want to get into some series of what is the quarterback's first read? Is it to the passing strength, non-passing strength? Where does he go? I think you could break down a team that way and be 75% of the time, he looks at the passing strength. 50% of the time, he throws the passing strength. Whatever it is, I bet you're going to find tendencies on quarterbacks. The other thing I'm big into now is the R4 stuff. And it's for offensive coaches, but he's hey, pause it at the top of the quarterback's drop. Yeah, I should not play this DB right now because he's got 14 yards of cushion. Cool. That's better than it's an incomplete pass when I think, oh, that DB did a great job. He's out of position. His closure stinks. He's given too much cushion. This other kid doesn't do that. So I think there's some things that you can figure out by the quarterback's vision. We were always big on. That's why I like playing cover one with a low hole and a high hole, because you do get 2 zone players.
Yep, no doubt about it. And you are, in the best way possible, you are maniacal. You got the R4 system working in your favor. That is awesome. That's Nick Davis. If you hung on for 50 minutes of the podcast, that to me is Nick Davis. You're using all available information to your disposal. And I love it. That's
yeah, this is what the elite quarterback people across the country are teaching their offense.
Brilliant.
I brought my quarterback, OC, receiver, said, you guys should do this, but I'm doing it now too.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And then I like to, because I can see, you had that All-American corner. I can see it. It was on our sideline. We were running the fade flat and that sucker picked it. But allowing players.
Which was a great play versus cover one. You're going to have the out, because even outside leverage, the DBs always give up the quick out.
No doubt. No, it certainly taught me a lot. But that was the same thing. You had a lot of those guys in your system. And then as you were on the way out, we had Josh at quarterback and Cornell, whatever position we wanted him to be. But it's let's create the system. Let's create the rules. And then let's let these dudes be playmakers. And certainly, I got after Josh plenty at quarterback. You are a maniac. You are doing the wildest stuff and it's driving me nuts. But those things that drove me nuts helped us win some football games at the end. So I get it. I think the best coaches know that line. They know how to coach it. Like you said, it's an education piece where, hey, that's great. I love that play. It's elite. It'll be on a cut up and highlight film forever. But just know where the weakness is in it. I'm sure that's how you kind of would educate them of do you, but know that if it don't work, I'm on it, right?
Well, I was huge on 2020. We had this D-line linebacker who wasn't a great linebacker. I'm from the Cincinnati area. Love the kid to death. But he always wanted to finesse arm over people. He led 2020 COVID in TFLs in the conference, and he was a nightmare. But he wasn't your traditional, on a run block, putting his hands on. He was swiping, going inside and making plays. And I'm yeah, maybe I should teach that. That kid's really good at that. I don't think that kid's really good at striking his hands, and he wouldn't have been good there. But he ended up leading the conference in TFLs, and we let him do his thing.
Was that the Loveland kid?
Yes.
I know.
I was hiding him at our brave linebacker position on line of scrimmage, and one of the best players in the conference.
I love it, man. I looked at those dang scouting reports. All right, I got 2 more for you. One is the finish up, but Keith was the one that really put this in, and I asked some of these guys at the end of this season, good walkthrough. Okay, you've coached every position. You, as a head coach, you were darn near calling offense and working all these positions. You are an accomplished defensive coordinator. You're back on that side. What's a good walkthrough look like? Are there different versions of it in your program? And just kind of outline what you're doing when it comes to that mechanism.
Yeah, so really 2 things we do. All right, we have go routes. We have 44 of them. So both when we do scout the first and the second string. But I also think you can use those on your starters in the first and second string, or what we're going to, I think, try to do is put them on our third and fourth string guys, because the 1s and 2s should know what they're doing. So defensive side, hey, go route it, have your 3s and 4s self-service yourselves. We do a quad walkthrough. So, and I'm big on like the play clock's 40 seconds, right? So if we're going to run 5 plays in 40 seconds, that's 3 minutes. So my period for our one offense, and I just got tired of our offense getting delay of games as an O-line coach. So period 26 of our practice, when our one offense goes against their defense for 5 plays, that's 3 minutes. They have 3 minutes to get the 5 plays. I go set the clock, like Daktronics allows you to do segments. When that buzzer hits, that one offense is off. So if they only ran 3 plays, our 2s are on. Okay, we used to do it like, hey, whatever 20 minutes, your 2s or 3s get cheated. Yeah. And what I found was our 1s were taking the longest. All right. And sometimes it's the 1s and it was my fault because I'm creating havoc on defense and the center's trying to get it all blocked. Well, the 3 centers, like, I don't care, like, boom, snap the ball. So every one of our periods is based off of 40 seconds per play. And if we get done, then that next group goes early, right? So, but we do a quad walk. Okay. So we have our 1s and 2s on one side of the field, our 3s, 4s, 5, 6s on the other. Everything gets droned. Okay. When we go good on good during the season. So what we do is a quad walk so we can go 25 yards apart, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. Before practice starts, we will do that whole script, which is their 6-minute script in a quad walk. Like if we had whatever, it would be 5 team run, 5 team pass. Our 1s will get the 20 plays and they walk through what they're going to do. Or, my OC is like, aren't you worried like kids are going to remember? They're not going to remember, right? But we can fix issues before they happen. And it's more productive in that 6 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever that period is. You're going to get more plays as an offense, and I'm going to get more plays as a defense than having my defense try to get into motions and all that sort of stuff. So when we do that, we never throw the football. It's like a 3-step process because we only have 25 yards. So we don't need to run our vertical reads into our vertical reads into our vertical reads. Now it's stressful on the staff. You know where I'm at? I'm with the 1s. The offensive coordinators with the 1s. The GA that knows the least is down with the 4s. But they're getting those plays before they have to go run those plays at full speed later. If we're going to walk through, we might as well walk through what we're going to see. Sure, the defense should have an advantage. All right, but that quarterback should know, like, hey, playing 3, they played Tampa 2. Like, I'm going to hit the pipe route. You find out who is a student of the game, all right? And in that period because they're going to run through this faster and your smart kids will thrive. So that's one thing that we do. I stole it from Kansas State. It was like before practice, they ran through every rep they were going to run the whole entire day. I was like, that's brilliant. Against the same looks. Why are we manipulating new looks? Like, let's just do what we're going to do at a slower pace and then an hour later, run through them.
I love it. But honestly, those young coaches that are doing the 4s, it's stressful on them. And the ones like how I was when I was young, like you don't want to mess it up. But like if those guys continue in the profession in 5, 6, 10 years from now, they're going to, whether they do it directly to you or to themselves, they're going to thank you for that moment. Because I love those opportunities, whether it's walkthrough or any part of practice where we let another coach call the side. So, if we're 11 on 11 going 2 ways, like I pride myself in, and I think we built some great coaches at the Mount. We've got some really good young coaches at Georgetown. Like, hey, you're going down there and you're calling it. And it's even best when it's not a scripted period where it's like, dude, you got to go call the plays. Like you got to learn the mechanics of calling plays. And I think that's an underrated piece of coordinating is like the actual mechanics and like the flow of it and the amount of stuff you're thinking about, right? You don't realize that until you're doing it.
Well, if you think I like the blitz, the young coaches definitely like the blitz way more than me.
I bet they are.
They're like, cover 0, 5-man rush. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I might rush 3 here.
I bet they're sending some gnarliness over there.
Well, and the kids messing it up creates new blitz patterns for me. So that's always good.
Hey, man, that's like the offensive guys. Just, all right, deep choice. Just chuck it. Let's see if we can make it happen. All right, last one. I mean, this has been incredible of us getting together, but just hearing all the insight. I mean, you have, to this point, I think it's still a starting point for where you're going to get to, but like you've built this career, you're a self-made dude, a true student of the game. Advice for these young coaches we're talking about and people getting into it and people, I get texts from guys, a lot of young coaches across the nation that listen to these and are garnering, they take this part of the deal as it's important to them. When it comes to that, you're hiring and doing all that. What is the thing that sticks out to you when you're advising guys? And it could be technical, it could be professionalism, but what sticks out to you just when you're advising young coaches of how to build themselves in this profession?
Yeah, like I want to hire guys that are students of the game. And I challenge our staff. Like, I watched every video from Lauren's first and goal on defense, that I got to the point that it went to offense, and your video at the time wasn't finished rendering. And I was like, dude, like, I want to watch your video. I'm out of defensive videos. Like, what's going on? And then, like, whatever, 3 weeks later it worked and I was able to watch your video. I've watched a few more, like, but I'm almost 40 years old, a head coach, and I still want to learn, right?
Yes.
Not just my side of the ball. I want to learn from other great minds on the offense side of the ball, special teams and all that sort of stuff. So I want to surround myself with guys like that. So I think that's the advice. Like, Division III football, played at Monmouth College. I love my coaches there. We didn't, at the time, and we didn't meet. We didn't watch film. Like, we didn't do all this stuff. We won. We went to the playoffs. We won a playoff game. Like, we did really cool stuff. But, like, we ran cover 3 and played a 4 down front, or one year we were 3-4 and we brought one back. Or, like, I always want to challenge myself, and I'm not going to do something just because that's what we did at Monmouth College or what I did at Ottawa. We don't do anything that I did at Ottawa when I was a defensive GA for the most part, like bucket learning and all that sort of stuff. But it's always been like, what's best for the place I'm at, and how can I get better? How can we continue? Like, I went through, like, we used to call our Brave blitzes. We had bike, bridge, all this sort of stuff, letter movements, all that sort of stuff. Like, at the end of the day, we just brought our Brave in the open gap that he had opened to blitz. Like, and I found, like, wow, I just got rid of 70% of our defense. If I just say, hey, yeah, let's just bring the Brave here. Like, he should find the open gap, like, wherever he's aligned. Like, we don't need to have all these fancy terms and stuff. So continue to learn, continue to grow is my biggest advice. Like, hopefully that I'm an example of that across the country, but no one knew who I was. I didn't have a coach, that was a dad or anything like that. Like, everything that I've done is because I worked hard and I've tried to strive to learn. Like, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. People will hear me speak and be like, oh my God, you're like, no. I just continually want to know the answer. Something is wrong. How can I solve it? What is the answer to that? Like, that drives me crazy. Man, they're killing us on Y cross. How can we be better on and our man coverage of, undercut the crossing route? Like, I got a post safety. Why do I need to keep outside lever? Like, little things like that you find over the years that can help you out.
That might be the lead-in segment for this podcast in season 3, because, I mean, that's it. And it's funny that this whole thing came about and we got together, but I love it. And if you don't know Nick, you need to look into him. But I'm sure a lot of guys that check this out will know exactly who you are. But everything you said is true. I mean, like, we talked about our relationship, but you're a really good football coach, but you constantly evolve. I'm very similar. I have no coaching tree or anything like that. I mean, obviously you and I got to work. You got to work with Jeff Sokol and I got to work with Hop, but it's like, okay, those guys were on their upswing too, right? You're a self-made guy. I think you're creative. You're intuitive. I think you're constantly evolving, which is literally the reason I wanted to start this podcast. Everything I've said, man, I respect the hell out of you. I think you're a damn good football coach. You frustrated me, but you single-handedly forced me to become a student of the game, to get better. And one day when I write the book, you will have a damn chapter in it. And hopefully at some point we'll have coached together, because I think we could concoct wild stuff on both sides of the ball. But I'm a huge fan. I've enjoyed the heck out of this. I'm always rooting for you. I'm always excited to see what you put out there. And I just appreciate you getting to come on here and we get to put this podcast together. And certainly won't be the last time that we're checking in with each other this season.
No, I appreciate you, man. I wish you the best of luck this season. I think my first year at Ottawa, we played Georgetown in the second round. We're all conference games, though, and I really don't want to drive 12 hours on a bus to go play you. But if we're doing it in November, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, man, that would be something if it become full circle. So I appreciate it, Nick. I'm sure everyone's going to really enjoy this episode of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening to the Coach and Coordinator podcast. As you've noticed, we now have a series of podcasts on the Coach and Coordinator Network. We're really excited about this series approach and what each different host brings to us. Plus, we have some roundtables, which essentially are hostless podcasts, starting with Think Tank. We recorded that first Think Tank with Dan Gonzalez, Dub Maddox, and Josh Herring, and I'll tell you, it was so detailed and so good in what they put into it. I know you're going to enjoy that series, as well as all the other series we have on the Coaching Coordinator Network. Be sure to follow all of our sponsors currently, that Signature Championship Rings, Modern Football Technology, and Titan GPS. Check out our 10% toolkit, where we highlight all of our partners and what they have available to you, as well as some special offers. The link to that is in the show notes. check out our enhanced show notes at coachandcoordinator.com. We'll be adding content that works better on video or as a download. And follow us on X at Coach K Grabowski.